The LA Kings get a much-needed home win, but did it come at a cost? We'll talk about that and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings on a Feedback Friday.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love for you to leave us a positive comment on Apple Podcasts if you're a fan of the show. And we're on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years, 20 plus years at the Fox Sports Radio Network. I'm also co-host of the Puck Podcast. It's a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the past 17 years and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Well, the LA Kings needed a home win after their worst performance of the season against the Philadelphia Flyers, and the Kings get that big home win. Hard-fought 2-1 victory over the Florida Panthers. If you missed it, a quick recap. I said the Kings needed to get off to a good start, and they, if possible, get the first goal of the game, and that is exactly what happened. Just a minute 20 into the game, Kevin Fiala scores on a 2-on-1 with Phillip Danault, who gave him a nice feed, and that made it 1-0 Kings, exactly what we were hoping for. The Kings would extend that lead in the second period. The captain, Anze Kopitar, scoring his team-leading 8th goal of the season. LA had a 2-0 lead in the third period before Florida did get a goal from their leading scorer, Sam Reinhart, to make things interesting. But in the end, the Kings hold on for the victory. Let us check out the game stats from the win over the Florida Panthers. The Kings obviously get the 2-1 win. Shots on goal, Florida actually outshot Los Angeles 31-27. Not many times this year the Kings have been outshot. The power play for the Kings, 1 for 2. And the game-winning goal did come on the power play and also 5 for 5 on the penalty kill. We talked about one of our keys to victory was win the special teams battle. The Kings absolutely did that. Face-offs won, advantage LA 32-27. Blocked shots advantage LA 22-18. As for the hits, that went to Florida 29-20. So for you everydayers, we talked about this 3 keys to victory on Thursday's show, and number 1 was get off to a good start and if possible, get that first goal, and the Kings did that, and it translates to a win, and that has been a key stat so far early in the season for the LA Kings. Get the first goal, and more likely than not, you're going to win the game. 7-1-1 is the record for the LA Kings when they score first in the game. Every team obviously wants to get off to a good start, but I think the evidence so far pretty clear that it is something that is very important for the LA Kings. Head coach Todd McClellan was asked about getting that first goal and how that helped the Kings to get the win, and he had this to say. He said, for us to score right away, it kind of gets the confidence level up right away. Everybody feels good about it, and it takes us right into the night, end quote. That from Todd McClellan about getting that first that first goal of the game, leading to the win on home ice. So the Kings improved to 9-3-3 overall, now 2-3-3 on home ice. They beat a Florida team that was playing very well and came in red hot. LA snapping the Panthers' 5-game winning streak with that victory. I thought it was nice to see the Kings' top players come up big, even though only 2 goals, but Kevin Fiala kind of getting off the schneid a bit. And then Anze Kopitar, of course, has been great all season long. So all in all, a good, solid win for the LA Kings. Not their best game of the season. Probably, I don't even know if it's in the top 3, to be honest with you. But it was one of those games that was very tight checking. There was not a lot of space on the ice. There wasn't a lot of room to be able to maneuver and get the shots you want. But in the end, I thought the Kings were the better team. And they get, again, a much-needed home victory against a pretty good Florida Panthers team. That's going to bring us to our 3 stars of the night. And by the way, this is my selections. I have no idea who the official 3 stars of the game actually is, so I'm not just copying off of whatever, the Kings put out there. I don't even know what it is on most nights, but this is my 3 stars of the game. And I will say, I thought Phillip Danault had a real strong game for the LA Kings in this one, but he doesn't make the cut, unfortunately for him. My 3 stars of the game, number 3 star for me is going to be goalie Cam Talbot. Turned aside 30 of 31 shots, lowered his goals against average from lowered it down to 2.11. That is 5th best in the NHL. He did raise his save percentage to .927. That is 8th best in the NHL. Wasn't called on to make any spectacular saves necessarily, but made some key saves in some key moments. Obviously, when it's a 1-goal game late and the other team has a ton of power play opportunities, 5, your goaltender has to be on his game, and Cam Talbot absolutely was. And good to see him get his first home win of the season. My number 2 star is Anze Kopitar. Gets the game-winning goal on the power play. Typical strong all-around game from the captain. Led all forwards in ice time with 20 minutes and 16 seconds. Was a part of the Kings' outstanding penalty kill as well, and had a couple of key block shots in the game as well. And my number 1 star has to go to Kevin Fiala. Got the Kings on the board in the opening minutes with a beautiful goal. Had the primary assist on the game-winning goal to Anze Kopitar on the power play. Yes, he did have one of those bad Fiala penalties, an elbow in the offensive zone that was completely unnecessary. But all in all, he was aggressive. He was engaged in a positive way for most of the game. And I would say, at least for this game, looked like better results as far as the move from head coach Todd McClellan to put Kevin Fiala on the Danault line. Phillip Danault, as I mentioned, had a very good game as well. And I think he's one of those players that really kind of complements a Kevin Fiala type of a player very, very well. He's very good at distributing the puck, and he definitely gave Kevin Fiala a couple of very good scoring chances, and obviously had the primary assist on his opening goal of the game. So for at least this game, I thought the move of Fiala to the Danault line looked pretty good. As for, this is what we do after every game. What did we like? What did we not like? Obviously, the good start. We have harped on that enough, but it did need to be mentioned one more time. Getting off to a good start, and in particular, getting that first goal of the game. Yes, we like that. We hope we see more of that going forward. Obviously, the penalty kill. Talked about so much going into the season, how it needed to be improved upon, and so far, so good for the LA Kings. 5 for 5 on the penalty kill. Now, granted, the Panthers are not one of the better power play teams in the league. Still, we thought this was going to be a hard, low-scoring, close game, and that's why we said the Kings have to win the special teams battle, and going 5 for 5 on the penalty kill against any team in the NHL is definitely getting the job done. And Tom McClellan even made a comment afterwards that if you include pulling the goalie for the extra attacker late, it's almost like 6 for 6 on the penalty kill. What did we not like? I thought the Kings really kind of shut it down in the third period and really were just trying to hold on to the lead. Way too much offensive zone time for Florida. The Kings, I understand wanting to protect the lead. I understand wanting to be kind of in a defense-first mentality, but that was way too much. The Kings still needed to do a better job of attacking, trying to keep the puck in Florida's end. As the cliche says, the best defense is a good offense. Obviously, Florida can't get scoring chances if they're running around in their own end. So the Kings, I thought, did not do a good job of keeping that consistent kind of offensive pressure throughout, and tried to sit on the lead a little bit too much. It didn't cost them this time, but that's something that needs to be addressed going forward. Great to have the lead. I know they wanted to get that big win on home ice, but again, a little too much of trying to sit on that lead late in the game. And while the results of the penalty kill were great, the Kings spent a ton of time in their own zone when killing those penalties. There were multiple times where the Kings had one of their PK units stuck on the ice for well over a minute. Usually that spells doom because guys get very tired killing penalties, but fortunately for the Kings, didn't hurt them. But there were multiple times where, again, one of the Kings PK units had to stay out there for like a minute 30. I think there was one time where they were almost out there for their entire penalty kill. So got to get to those pucks, got to get that puck out of the zone, clear it so you can get those line changes and get the second unit out there. But the Kings were able to withstand that, but that's not a formula for success. One thing we did not like from last night's game was a injury to Pierre-Luc Dubois, but there is some good news today. It looks like we'll give you details on that here next on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Hey, you shouldn't worry about buying tickets for your next big event. I don't, because I use Gametime. It is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all these sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. I went on vacation in New York recently, and I bought tickets to a game at Madison Square Garden, and I used Gametime to buy my tickets, and I had a great experience with them. App is very easy to use. They've got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and the best price guaranteed. Gametime's the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. I love how you can see the view from the seat that you're going to buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. All-in prices show you the total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal without any hidden fees. Buying tickets in seconds. You can do that with 2 taps on the app. Just download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. The LA Kings take on the St. Louis Blues Saturday, 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. Catch every moment of the hometown broadcast of the LA Kings with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search LA Kings. Well, late in that game against the Panthers, the Kings got a scare when center Pierre-Luc Dubois went down with an injury, took the puck strong to the net, got tripped up, and his leg just above the knee went hard into the net post, which didn't come off its posts. He ended up limping off the ice, went into the locker room, did not return. Todd McLellan said after the game he didn't have an update. But this morning, we do have an update on Pierre-Luc Dubois, and it looks like good news, as Todd McLellan said on the injury, that the news is, quote, a lot better than it could have been, end quote. Obviously not very specific on that, but the translation for me on that is that there's no structural damage to his knee, no issues with cartilage or ligaments, things like that. The fact that it was above the knee, kind of in the muscle on the lower thigh there, leads me to believe probably pretty sore in that muscle, maybe a kind of a bruise, things like that. But again, the translation on that quote, a lot better than it could have been, is that it's not a serious injury. And I wouldn't be surprised if Pierre-Luc Dubois does not play in the game Saturday against the Blues. Keep him, rest him up, let him heal up from that injury. But I would be surprised if it was more than a game. Maybe a game or two, but again, very, very good news. Anytime you're dealing with a leg injury, particularly a knee, that's something that you can miss multiple weeks on. So it appears the Kings have dodged a bit of a bullet on that, and that, again, Pierre-Luc Dubois, the injury is not significant, maybe a couple of games, but it doesn't look like at this point that it's going to be something that the Kings are going to have to be concerned about for a while. So if Pierre-Luc Dubois can't go against St. Louis, I think in the short term, since he's obviously not going to go on injured reserve or anything like that, at least it doesn't appear that that'll be the case. I could see the Kings in the short term moving Jared Anderson-Dolan to center. One of the reasons why they've kept him on the roster is because of his versatility. He can play all 3 forward positions. And then you could bring Alex Laferriere back into the lineup on the wing. It would just be for a game or two. I think the Kings would be okay with that. Not ideal, but you got to, the injuries are something you got to deal with. I don't think you want to move Blake Lizotte up to the 3rd line, so to speak, and center that and put JAD on the 4th line. I think you want to keep that quote unquote Lizotte line, the 4th line, together because they've been so effective with Carl Grundstrom and Trevor Lewis. Maybe you elevate that line as far as them getting the 3rd line minutes, so to speak, and you would have another line that was centered by Jared Anderson-Dolan kind of getting the 4th line minutes, so to speak. But again, maybe some adjustments for a game or two for the LA Kings, but it does not look like there's going to be anything significant. We hope. The initial news is good on Pierre-Luc Dubois. As for Jared Anderson-Dolan, not a great return, not a bad return to the lineup for him. He did have one great setup for Arthur Kaliyev that, frankly, Kaliyev needs to finish on. But other than that, I thought Jared Anderson-Dolan back in the lineup was okay. Certainly nothing that he did is going to wow you. and nothing that he did is going to say, well, we need to pull him out of the lineup. It was a good enough effort. So I wouldn't, and especially with the injury to Pierre-Luc Dubois, I would actually expect to see Jared Anderson-Dolan in the lineup again against the St. Louis Blues. No points for him. He played 9 minutes and 51 seconds. All right, it is a Feedback Friday. Let's get into some emails this week. And our first email comes from Matt, and he says he's a proud everydayer. And he says, I'm liking how the season has been so far. We have the depth. It's looking to be Byfield's breakout year, and the Oilers are trash right now. Combine those three things, and it makes for a good season. I was not a fan of the decision to move Fiala off of the Dubois line. I thought it was going to work out in the long term. Adding into this, I watched your Tuesday show about the season so far. You brought up how it may be a good idea to do an Alex for Alex swap by trying to bring up Alex Turcotte. While I think that would be a good idea, I think we should also do a Spence for Clark swap to give Clark a taste of the actual NHL and not just the preseason, and also give him a chance to quarterback the second unit. In the beginning of the season, I was shocked that we didn't play Clark to begin with, and now I think we need to give him his baptism by fire. By the way, just credit where credit is due. The Alex for Alex swap was not my idea. That was from Austin Stanovich, friend of the show, who writes about the LA Kings for the Hockey News. As far as Clark and Spence, I don't see it at this point, perhaps later in the year, but I think that Jordan Spence has done a fine job on the third pairing and quarterbacking the second power play unit. And I think the Kings want to continue to give Brandt Clark all the minutes that he's getting in the AHL at this point. So I do think at some point later in the year, that is something that maybe the Kings decide to look into. And certainly if there's any injuries, Clark is going to come up immediately. But I'd say for now, I think the Kings are okay with Jordan Spence on that third pairing and keeping Brandt Clark where he is for the moment anyway. Our next email comes from Edwin in Brea. He says, I just want to say that I am very satisfied with Cam Talbot's play so far. Coming into this season, I was very skeptical. However, lately with 8 wins so far and good numbers, I'll say it looks like he is our starter. I would say that's definitely the case. I says the thing I'm concerned about is I'm hoping that he will play around 55 games so we don't wear him out, meaning Copley or someone else needs to pick it up and be a reliable backup. Copley has been off and seems like he lacks confidence. Maybe give David Rittich or the rookie Eric Portillo a shot. Also, maybe the Kings should try wearing white for their home games or sleeping in hotels the night before, since they play better on the road than in LA. And then Edwin went into a bit of some history about local LA hockey rinks. Edwin, I'm sorry, in the interest of time, I'm not going to be able to share all that, but there were some great information you passed along to me. I appreciate that. But there was one thing that Edwin did share that I will share because I thought it was a great trivia question. This is coming off my visit to Madison Square Garden in New York. And he said, what is the oldest arena in the NHL? And a lot of people, including myself, would say Madison Square Garden. But Edwin says the oldest arena is actually Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. The venue was opened in 1962 for a science fair exposition and was the longtime home of the Seattle Supersonics in the NBA until they moved. And the venue has been renovated, but it is, of course, now the home of the Seattle Kraken. But a little bit of a trivia question for you. The oldest arena in the NHL actually is Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. So thank you for that, Edwin. By the way, as for you, I think you were a little bit tongue-in-cheek about wearing the white at home and staying on the road. Teams have actually done that before. I think in particular football, they will have the team stay in a hotel before the game. I think they might do that anyway, actually. I think they do that, just kind of to make sure that they know where everybody is the night before a game. But I have heard of that before, where a team is doing really well on the road and the coaches will do something like get the team together in a hotel, kind of make it more like the road and see if that can actually help. I don't think the Kings they're not there yet. And after last night's win, I guess they're okay with it. A real quick one from Jesse in Visalia says, commenting on the win over the Florida Panthers. Great all-around game. PK was flawless, and Fiala and PL showed some good chemistry. This game had a real playoff vibe to it. Keep up the good work. Appreciate all you do. Go Kings, go. I thought it was a big game. Not sure I'd go so far as to say that there was a playoff vibe to it. But I will say this, and it was pointed out on Twitter. A bit of a sparse crowd, at least in the lower bowl at Crypto.com Arena for this game. And some people were asking me, do you know why there's not a lot of people at the game, at least in that lower bowl? It was pretty noticeable. And I thought maybe because of the fire on the 10 freeway and it being closed, maybe some people decided to stay away, or it wasn't worth their effort to try and get down there. So I don't know. We'll see if it's the same on Saturday. I would guess not. But it was not the attendance that you would expect for the LA Kings from that game, and my guess is it was because of the fire on the 10 freeway. We have some YouTube comments to get to. We will do that here in just a moment on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. We spend a lot of time together, you and I, and we get fired up together about wins and losses and who starts and who sits. And I'm thankful that we have a connection. Perhaps you feel a bit more comfortable with me talking to you about something that maybe is of a personal nature, whether you're on extended travel, bracing for a major weather event, or limited by yet another supply shortage. You are covered, my friend. Thanks to our partners at Jace Medical, life-saving antibiotics and a long list of daily medications that can be ordered a year supply of. Even ED generics like Cialis, Viagra, and Revatio. Go online right now at jacemedical.com. Receive your 12-month supply of your daily medications. Remember to use the promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jace, quote, "I am thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut my pills in half. I ordered most of my daily meds with a 1-year supply. Also ordered the antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone." End quote. If you or someone you love would like to get some peace of mind by having a year supply of daily meds, go to jacemedical.com and see if it's offered for you. Remember, use the promo code LOCKED ON for $20 off of your purchase. LA Kings host the St. Louis Blues Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. Catch every moment of the hometown broadcast of the LA Kings with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search LA Kings. And if anybody cares, I will be at that game. So if any of our everydayers would like to say hello, meet up before, during, or after the game, let me know. I'll make sure I check my email this week because I missed out on one last week, and social media as well. Reach out and hopefully we can make that happen. It's always fun. Let us get a couple of YouTube comments in here. This one comes from Frank Pareda, 1106, a frequent YouTube commenter. He says, "I don't like the middle six changes that the coach has made. Putting Moore, who's been outstanding, on his off wing, I believe is a very poor decision. Moving Fiala to the Dino line is worth a try. Bringing in Anderson Dolan could possibly bring in some extra energy, though. I would have tried Turcotte there instead. Now that Byfield is playing better and hopefully will continue to improve, it is now time for the Kings to make a decision on both Bjornfoot and Turcotte. Hopefully they'll give them both a good opportunity, or you can kiss those 2 number 1 picks goodbye." Well, maybe not for next season. Tobias Bjornfoot is actually under contract for another year. So the only way that they would be kissing him goodbye is if they, is if he's claimed off waivers or if they traded him. And Alex Turcotte will be a restricted free agent after this season. So it's not like he's a UFA and can just go sign with another team. That he's still under team control for next season. So the Kings have the first opportunity to control what goes on with Alex Turcotte. It will be, I do expect to see Alex Turcotte with the LA Kings at some point this year, and we'll be very curious to see how he looks. He certainly has had his issues. He's ripened on the vine in the AHL, but certainly a player of his status, if it weren't for the injuries, would probably be an NHL contributor somewhere at this point. As for Tobias Bjornfoot, we talked about it on Thursday's show, got sent down to Ontario to get some games in. And I would expect that when he comes back to the Kings from his conditioning assignment, I would expect, like Jared Anderson Dolan, they would at least give him a game to see what he can do. But Andreas Englund continues to play well. He had a great play last night. If you saw the game, a 2-on-1, and he played great positional defense. And the Panthers didn't even get a shot off on the 2-on-1 because of his good defensive play. So we shall see about that. This next one comes from Michael V. 1986. He said, "I would have to say that there is a problem when Mikey Anderson has the same amount of points as Pierre-Luc Dubois. PLD isn't playing bad, but I was one of the people that wasn't going to defend all he needs is a fresh start with a new team where he wanted to go. narrative. PLD shows up when he wants to. Were the knocks on him true? I'm sorry. When you get paid $9 million a year, you need to have more than 500 PPG. I'm not really sure what. Maybe I'm missing on that. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. But the point is not unfair. Pierre-Luc Dubois, 4 goals, 8 points through 15 games. He's projected to have 22 goals and 44 points. That would definitely be well off his career averages. That would actually be the fewest goals he's scored in a season since his rookie year and the fewest points he's had in any NHL season. Again, hopefully the injury isn't anything significant, so that won't be any kind of issue as far as affecting his numbers or how much he gets to play. But I think it's fair to say that Pierre-Luc Dubois has not been quite the impact player statistically that the Kings would have hoped to this point. I do think kind of bigger picture with him, though, and I'm not trying to defend him because I do agree he has not been the player so far that I thought he's been. I don't think like the commenter said, he hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been outstanding. He's just been okay. Certainly Kings, I think, are looking big picture with him in that, him being our quote unquote third center and his abilities still commands a lot of attention from other teams, and rolling those 3 centers, or in the Kings case so far, those 4 lines, wears down an opponent. So even if he's not necessarily putting up the numbers, the strength we have down the middle, the Kings feel, and I think is fair to say, is still something that the Kings have that is a benefit going forward and hopefully into the playoffs. And I also would say that in the playoffs is where we're really going to find out if the Pierre-Luc Dubois move was worth it or not. He can have an average regular season, and I'm not saying we should be happy about that, but if he turns it on in the playoffs, if he's a difference maker in the playoffs, I think in the end, the Kings are going to be looking at that move and saying that it was worth it. So there's still the book has not been written on the season for Pierre Dubois, but I think it is fair to say so far, not quite what I think most of us expected. Needs to be better. I did think, though, in the game against Florida, there were a couple times he went strong to the net in the third period, and that's what you want out of him. Unfortunately, he did get hurt on one of those rushes, but we'll see. I think we need to give it certainly some more time. But again, hopefully he's not out of the lineup very long to affect his status. So that will do it for today's show. Thanks to everyone who commented this week, whether it was on YouTube or sending an email. For you everydayers, those of you that listen and watch Locked On LA Kings every day, coming up on Monday's show, we will obviously recap the game against the St. Louis Blues, get you set up for the week coming up for the LA Kings, and also probably give you a rain report as well, and check out what the Kings AHL affiliate did over the weekend. If you want to send an email at any time for the feedback shows, the email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. You can also post your comments, of course, on the YouTube channels. That is always welcome. And if you want to stay connected with the show 24/7, follow us on social media. We are at X or Twitter and Instagram at Locked On LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you as always for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings. And thanks to everyone who contributed with the feedback. We will talk to you next week with another edition of Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. And as always, go Kings go.